Hello, and welcome to the Office of Foreign Labor Certification presentation today on our PERM modernization project, specifically the addition of a PERM module in our flag.dol.gov processing system. We have members of our Office of the Chief Information Officer on today to present the changes and tips and ideas on how this will affect your PERM application process. This presentation is being recorded and we'll be placing it to our website at a future date. At this time, I would like to hand the presentation over to Anne. Anne, it's all you.
I think we're going to start with a brief introduction from Brant.
Okay, my apologies. Brant.
No worries.
Yep, no worries. Good afternoon, everyone. As Alex said, thank you all for taking the time today to participate in this webinar. This is the typical webinar that will go through the PERM environment in Flag. So I hope you had an opportunity to participate yesterday during the 989 walkthrough. You will see some things here that will be kind of repeated, but the reality here is that it will make a lot more sense once you see how the form works in the application. So again, thank you and look forward to your comments and questions. So, Anne, back to you.
Thank you, Brant, Alex. Good afternoon, everyone. I will be presenting the new PERM visa functionality in Flag today. So just a reminder, this session is being recorded. Our first step is going to be connecting you to the Flag system, the Foreign Labor Application Gateway system. We log into the Flag system using login.gov via the Flag website at flag.dol.gov. On flag.dol.gov, under the support section, you can find FAQs, user guides, and video tutorials on how to use login.gov. Major deficiencies identified in the PERM legacy system include both infrastructure issues and ease of use issues. The first we've solved by using login.gov to create and manage user accounts in the Flag system. Login.gov also requires multi-factor authentication, which ensures secure access for our users and protection of their data. You will click the sign in link on flag.dol.gov to use your login.gov account to access Flag. I have already logged in, so I'm going to jump to that screen. I've logged into the Flag system, the Foreign Labor Application Gateway, using my login.gov token, and I can see the PERM card, along with all of the other cards for the temp programs. On the left-hand side of my screen is a navigation bar, where I can choose to view my existing cases, or manage my profiles, or my network. As a reminder, for more information on using cases, profiles, or my network, please see our support page at flag.dol.gov. My default is the top option to create a new application. As you can see, the screen is asking me to choose an application. I scroll down to the PERM card. Previously, this card only had the option for the Form ETA 9141, the prevailing wage determination, which is the first step in the process of filing a PERM visa application. We've now added the Permanent Employment Certification application, the Form ETA 9089, to the PERM card and added the form in Flag, which along with the prevailing wage determination make up the two forms required for a PERM submission. I will go ahead and select the hyperlink for the Form ETA 9089. Our first step in the process is to complete a series of preliminary questions. We use preliminary questions in all of our applications to either set up the logic of the form fields which are required to be completed prior to submission, or to determine where that application is routed after its submission. For PERM, the occupation type drives the type of recruitment that the filer is required to conduct before submission and to document in their application. The occupation type I select will determine the fields that I'm required to complete on the form. For professional occupations, there will be specific fields related to recruitment that you will be required to complete. For non-professional occupations, I'll complete fewer fields on the form. If I'm recruiting for a college or a university teacher, I'll be required to complete a specific appendix for college and university recruitment. And if I'm recruiting for a professional athlete, I'll be required to upload documents that certify that the professional athlete qualifies for this program. Please note that this field has an asterisk, indicating that it is a required field. Please also note the tooltips next to the field titles, represented by this question mark in a circle. Every tooltip represents the approved OMB form instructions and will be helpful for filling out the form fields. As you can see for this first question, the tooltip explains the values and under what circumstances you should select each one. For the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to select professional occupation. Hold on just a second, please. Thank you. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to select professional occupation. From there, I now have a question asking if I'm required to undergo supervised recruitment. This question is related to routing. If you've been issued a notice from the certifying officer that you must undergo supervised recruitment, you'll select yes here. Upload your notice and then after submission, this will be routed to the supervised recruitment team. Let's say I'm not required to undergo supervised recruitment, so I'm going to select no. The next step is your PWD lookup. This is how we link the prevailing wage determination to the PERM application. We select the PWD case lookup button and get a pop-up with a list of all of our determined 9141s. The second major deficiency in the legacy PERM system was that PERM filers had to copy and paste significant amounts of information from the prevailing wage determination into their permanent application form. We've solved that for them by linking the two together from within the electronic PERM 9089 application. I can look up the PWD for this job opportunity using a variety of values. I will enter a search value of developer to find a job title from the determined PWD for application developers. I can also search on the case ID, employer name, FEIN, or the determined SOC code. I select the row with the PWD that I want to link into my PERM application, and I click the Continue button. I receive a message reminding me that modifying fields imported from the PWD may lead to delays in processing my application. I acknowledge that I should not make changes to the PWD data. The screen now shows that I have a linked PWD. I open the PWD to confirm that I've linked the correct PWD. I can scroll through and view all the information on the PWD that I linked. Please note that the PWD opened in a separate tab in my browser. I'm going to close that tab before I go back to my 9089 application. If I don't want to leave open flag tabs idle, because if I'm not using them, they will time out and I may be timed out on my active tab as well, which I don't want. So please only keep open the tab you are actively working on to avoid the risk of a timeout. Let's see if I can move the... If I determine that I linked the wrong PWD, I can clear the PWD and link the correct one. And I select to continue. This completes the preliminary questions section and is going to populate data from my prevailing wage determination into my PERM application. From the PWD, The application will pull in data including employer information, employer point of contact information, attorney, agent information, and work sites. I can change the data that I've imported. So if I decide to associate an attorney, for example, I can do that. Just a reminder though, if you make changes to the substantive data that you've pulled in from the PWD, and now the PWD data in the 9089 does not match the original PWD you submitted, it could cause delays in processing the application. Please take note of the Save and Quit button at the bottom left of the form. If I'm interrupted while filling out the form or need to gather more information before completing my application, I can save my work and come back to it later. I select the Save and Quit button, and a pop-up will appear asking, "Are you sure you want to quit?" At this point, I can select Save as Initiated or choose to delete the case. I will save as initiated, and my initiated case can be accessed from the Cases tab. If I select 9089 and then Initiated, my case will now be listed with an application ID and a case status of Initiated. If I click on my case number, my initiated case will open and I can continue to work on it, or when submission is available, if my case is complete, I can submit it. I will continue to work on my case. The employer information section will pre-populate from the PWD that you linked. There are some required fields here that will still need to be filled in that are not collected on the PWD. The required fields will have an asterisk, the non-required fields will not. If I select to continue without filling in all of the required fields, I can go to the next section. But the indicator bar on the side will show that I have not completed this section. I can just go back to the employer information section by using the navigation bar on the left-hand side of the screen. And there will be a message at the top of the screen telling me the fields that still need to be completed in this section. Once I've answered the preliminary questions, I can fill out the sections of the form in any order. I can either go through the whole thing in the order presented and the appendices at the end, or I can fill out each appendix when I get to the relevant section of the form. I can skip a section and come back to it. Flag will mark each completed section with a green check mark and each incompleted section with a red exclamation mark in a triangle. I will now finish filling out the fields for employer information. And I select to continue. Now my employer information section has a green check mark, so I know it's been completed. The employer point of contact information section will be pre-populated from the PWD that you linked. Review the information and select to continue. Since I entered attorney agent information on my PWD, that information is pre-populated for me in the attorney agent section. Otherwise, you may select an attorney agent from your profiles to populate this section or manually enter information. So I can choose an attorney from the profile list in this section of the form, and the attorney data will be filled in for me. And I can select to continue. The foreign worker information section ties to Appendix A, where we have all the information about the foreign worker and their education, qualifications, skills, and experience. Let's just enter no for D2. As I mentioned previously, You do not have to fill out Appendix A now. You can continue to Section E by clicking the Continue button, or use the stepper links on the left side navigation panel to move around in the form. Let's just say that I have all of my foreign worker information handy, so I want to fill out my Appendix A now. I'll select the Go to Appendix A button to jump to Appendix A. Most of the fields in Appendix A are required. This is where the really detailed information lives, so I want to make sure I'm entering everything correctly for that foreign worker. I will now fill out the foreign worker contact information. If the foreign worker does not have a middle name, please enter N/A in that field. I'll now enter the foreign worker's address and citizenship information. I will select E3 for professional skilled workers. For the alien registration number, if this field does not apply, I will enter the number 0 here. I'll select the country of birth and the country of citizenship or nationality, and click to continue. Oops. In Appendix AB, I will enter information from the foreign workers about the foreign workers' education. I'd like to draw your attention to the latter part of the instructions. If the foreign worker does not hold relevant U.S. diplomas, degrees, or foreign equivalent, mark none in question 1, and in questions 1A through 1E, enter NA or leave blank as appropriate. Where the foreign worker attained a diploma, degree outside the U.S., mark other and specify the U.S. equivalent of the diploma, degree. To add the foreign worker's education, click the link with the plus sign, and then fill out the form with the relevant information. Click to save. I can add additional rows to the table by clicking the link again and filling out the form with the worker's additional education information. And click to save. I can edit a row by clicking the Edit button, making my change, and selecting to save. The table now shows my updated record, and I will select to continue. The foreign worker training qualification section is required if training, a certification, and/or a license is required for the job opportunity. List the most recent training completed first. I will fill out the form by clicking the link with the plus sign. and click to save. The training information has been added to the table, so I'll click to continue. Appendix AD, Foreign Worker Skills, lists specific skills, abilities, and/or proficiencies that the foreign worker possesses for the minimum requirements of the job opportunity. I'll click the link with the plus sign to add a skill to the table. If you'll notice, the Save button was not enabled until I entered the state. Now the Save button is enabled. I'll click to save. Select to add another provider or another skill. You'll notice the text section allows up to 1,500 characters for this section. Click to save. Again, if I want to edit, I can select to edit. If I decide I want to remove this row, after clicking edit, I can click remove skills, abilities, and proficiencies, and then that row is removed from the table. My foreign worker skill record is added to the table, and I'll click to continue. The foreign worker work experience section is required if there are experience requirements for the job opportunity. I should not enter contact information such as the telephone number or email address of the employer or the names of the foreign worker's supervisor or manager, and should not include periods of unemployment. I will now add the foreign worker's work experience. Mark yes to indicate that the foreign worker is currently working for the employer identified in question 1. So my foreign worker is currently working for that employer. I will select yes. And click to save. I've now completed all of the parts of Appendix A. So I can use the left side navigation steppers to go back to Section E of the 9089 form, Job Opportunity and Wage Information. I note that Section D has not been checked off, so I'll click Section D first, click Continue. I get my green check mark for foreign worker information, and now I'm on Job Opportunity and Wage Information. So now we need to fill out the sections pertaining to job opportunity, including wage information, work sites, and other requirements. We can see on the job opportunity and wage information page that the PWD that I pulled in is shown at the top. I will review and reconfirm that I linked the correct PWD. Question E2 here is populated from that second preliminary question about supervised recruitment. If you will remember, I selected no for that one. This field will be pre-populated based on the occupation type you selected and your answer to the supervised recruitment question. You can also see that the existing prevailing wage is displayed and grayed out for your information purposes to make this section easier to fill out. I enter the wage data in the offered wage fields. Note that the from value cannot be greater than the to value, and if the prevailing wage determination includes two wages, the wage rate must be equal to or higher than the highest of the prevailing wages assigned. So now my range is higher than my prevailing wage, and the from range is smaller than the to range. For a year, I have space to enter additional comments up to 500 characters if I so choose. I'll click to continue. Your linked PWD includes all of the work sites for which you received a prevailing wage determination. I click to select my work site, select the work site, click Finish, and you'll note that the information below has been populated. If I select any option other than no one specific work site, this section will be partially pre-populated from the work site from my PWD. I still need to answer this first question here though about the type of worksite location. If I choose no one specific worksite, the other fields will be marked NA, and I will skip to section FB. Since for this example, I have identified work sites, I'm going to change my answer to business premises and reselect my work site. So the information will be pulled from my PWD. My worksite location information has been repopulated from my PWD. And I'll click to continue. If I have multiple work sites, they should have been identified in my PWD Appendix A. If I have multiple work sites, I will select Yes here. Clicking the button to go to Appendix B will take you directly to Appendix B Additional Worksite Information. Clicking Continue will take you to the next stepper in the main form, Other Definable Geographic Areas. I would like to fill out my Appendix B now, so I will click to go back to Additional Worksites and then click the button to go, I'll just click to go to Appendix B. And now I'm on Appendix B. I select to add work sites. I can select to add them all at once, or I can add them one at a time. Click to finish. And my work sites are added to the table. I select County from the dropdown to complete filling in the table. I can copy or remove the work site using the ellipsis at the right of the table. If I want to copy, I made a copy of the last one, so now I have a duplicate copy. I can add more locations within the same geographical area with the same prevailing wage by copying an existing worksite and then confirming the state and the county in the table. If an MSA crosses state boundaries, when I add additional worksites, I can add any state and any county within that MSA. I can only change the state if the MSA crosses state lines. I can delete a row by coming back over to the ellipsis and clicking to remove, and that removes that row from my selection. I will click to continue. Now this took me to Appendix C, but I want to continue working on the main form. So I'm going to use my steppers on the left-hand side to go back up to additional work sites. This is where I took my journey to Appendix B, and I will click to continue to go to Other Definable Geographic Areas. If I had selected no one specific work site in Section F, if I'll have a work area that's roving or non-specific, then I can enter various work sites here. Or if I have a defined area, like I do for this application, then I can skip this section. So I'm going to skip this section by clicking Continue. And I have my green check mark. Additional job opportunity information and other requirements. This section has a dozen required questions, and depending on my answers, I may need to answer additional questions. So for instance, if my foreign worker is a live-in household domestic worker, then I answer yes for G2. And now I need to answer G2A through G2C to indicate if they have a year of paid experience in that role, if there's an executed contract, and the foreign worker has received a copy of that contract. If I answer no to G2, if I answer no to G2, G2A through C will be populated as not applicable for me. If I change my answer, I should select to clear, which will clear the dependent fields as well as the initial field. I'm going to reselect no. And so G2A through G2C are populated as not applicable for me. If I select no for G4, G4A will automatically be marked as not applicable. If I change my answer to yes, I want to click clear first, refresh the fields, and change my answer. I finish filling out this section of the form, and then I come down to questions G6 through G12. Questions G6 through G12 will determine if an Appendix C is required as part of the PERM application. If I answer yes to any of these questions, I will need to complete an Appendix C to provide additional information. For this exercise, let's answer yes for G6, and G12, and no for G7 through G11. Since I answered yes for G6 and G12 and no for the others, I will only have to fill out an Appendix C for questions G6 and G12. I can use the button in the middle of the page to go to Appendix C and fill out the supplemental information for questions G6 and G12. I am now at Appendix C, Supplemental Information. The form will automatically pull in the questions where I answered yes in Section G, and I'll be given space to type the additional information. I click to add supplemental information. I select the section and item number, and you can see that items G6 and G12 have been added to the list. Those were the two questions where I answered yes. premises. I have space here up to 1,500 characters to add supplementary information. I type the information, the supplemental information that's relevant for the question, and I click to save. Once I add the information, it's displayed in this table format, and I need to add the supplemental information one at a time for each question where I answered yes in questions G6 through G12. So I'll click the add supplemental information link again, and now I will select G12 from the list. G12 related to occupational layoff. I'll add that information and select to save, and that information will be added to the table. If you had yes answers to any of the other questions, G6 through G12, you would click the Add Supplemental Information link again and select that item. Since I didn't answer yes to any of the other questions, I can't add any more supplementary information sections. So I'll click Cancel, and then I can continue from there. Since I finished filling out Appendix C, I can use my left side navigation steppers to go back to Section G. I'm done with Appendix C. I'm not ready for Appendix D, so I'm going to go on the left-hand side. I'm going to go back up to Section G, where I filled out questions G6 through G12. This is what took me to Appendix C. And then I'll click Continue to go to the next section in the main form, Professional, Non-Professional Recruitment Information. The 9089 has been streamlined to collect information about the foreign worker and about the recruitment information for the job opportunity. In the recruitment sections, there are reminders to filers about what's required for you based on the occupation type you chose in the preliminary questions, and include logical validations to warn filers about the 30-day and 180-day requirements for those dates. I'm going to fill out this section starting with the start date of the SWA job order. And the end date of the SWA job order. I will answer the question, is there a Sunday edition of the newspaper? And the name of the newspaper. I will select, since there is a Sunday edition available, I will select Sunday as my advertisement date. I also advertised in a journal, so I'll input my journal information and the advertisement date for my journal. If I do a date that is not more than 30 days in the past, I'll get a warning message telling me that I need to adjust that date. So I will go back and put the correct date that I did the advertisement, and I will click to continue. Recruitment requirements are driven by the choices I selected on those preliminary questions. So for professional occupations, I'll be required to identify at least 3 additional recruitment steps that meet the 180 and 30-day criteria. I'll fill out the table by selecting the recruitment event type, then entering the date or dates that it took place. So let's say we advertised at a job fair. And we posted on our employer website. And we posted on a job search website. Now you'll notice there's an X box here. If I put in a date that's the wrong date and I want to remove that, I can click the X and it'll remove that selection. So I can reselect. So these date checks will run again when I submit my applications. So for those of you who initiate cases on one date and submit them on another, they'll run through the checks again. So I'll click to continue. Now here I must select at least one value for notice of posting. If you did not file a notice of posting, then you would select did not post the notice of posting. Notice of filing, sorry. I did not post the notice of filing. So if I select bargaining representative, then none of the other options are available to select. If I select physical notice, then I can also select electronic notice and in-house notice. So some of the choices are dependent on the selection of the other choices. And then I'll select to continue. Employer labor conditions statements. This section is a form for employers to attest that they will comply with the applicable labor conditions statements. For professional athletes, only items 1 through 7 apply. Checking the box, here I certify, will mark yes on the form for this section. So I click yes, I certify, and I click to continue. The prepare section only applies if someone other than the employer point of contact or the identified attorney or agent is filling out the form. Otherwise, you can just click to continue. We have already completed appendices A, B, and C, so I'm going to move on to Appendix D. As you can see, I can click using my steppers on the left-hand side. Appendix D, Special Recruitment for College and University Teachers. If I selected the occupation type of college or university teachers and a special recruitment process was used, then I need to complete Appendix D. I would enter the date the foreign worker was selected for the position, the names of the journal, educational organization, publication, or other publication where I advertised, and the start date of the advertisement, and then there's space for additional recruitment information up to 3,500 characters. If I don't need to fill this out, I can just click continue and I'll get a green check mark for that appendix. Application documents section shows a list of all the documents I have uploaded as part of the preliminary questions portion of this application if needed. Very few applications will have uploaded documents. So I have no documents here and that's okay. I can just click continue. And we'll start processing. All right, now I'm at the final step, the review and submit page. Right before I get to the submission step, I will get a list of all the incomplete fields and the errors that I've made so far on the form. I need to complete these fields before I can submit my application. My submit button will be grayed out, preventing me from submitting it with incomplete or missing information. Now, just a reminder here, when we first deliver the new electronic PERM form to Flag, you will have the ability to initiate and save new 9089 applications in Flag. However, the ability to submit your application will not yet be available. So right now, I'm going to go back up and review my missing information. So Appendix B on row 4. So if I go back and I look here at Appendix B, I can use my steppers and see I have a triangle with an exclamation point saying I have errors here. So I'll select that section. I will identify, because I was making changes here, there's also a little exclamation point and a triangle here to indicate that I did not reselect my county when I was making changes. So I changed this from Washington, D.C. to Virginia, but I didn't select which county in Virginia that I wanted. So I'm going to select a county, click to continue. My case has been updated. And then I can come back. I'll click on the left-hand side. I can just click review and submit right from that left side navigation bar. And the process is going to run and recollect those results. And it looks like I have no more errors. So I'm getting a note here in this kind of pale pink box that says these blank fields will be populated with NA or 0 as applicable. So there were a lot of fields that didn't apply to me, so we just left them blank. And they will be populated in the official form, in the PDF final form, with not applicable as 0. So it's just an informational message to let me know that those are going to be populated for me. I don't have to go in and put zeros or not applicables into all these fields. The form is going to do that for me. So now I can choose to review any of the sections of my application at this time. I can open up either any of these little boxes using the little caret on the side and review each of the sections individually. I also have the option of selecting print summary to print a summary of my application. So I've kind of a slow network here at home, so it may take just a minute to load. Okay, and now I have a view of my preliminary questions, the entire 9089 form. Each of the sections here is available in this print view. I can either save it as a PDF if I want. I can print it. It's all available right here for me. So I'm going to cancel that. The other option I have right now is to select to save and quit, which will save my initiated application for future submission. So I want to save as initiated. And then again, I go back to my Cases tab, 9089, initiated. And I have my completed form. It's all filled out. I've got all my green check marks. It's ready to submit. And then once submission's available, I'll be able to submit it. So you see, if I come down to review and submit, the very last section, my submit button is green. That means it's enabled and I can submit this application. So let's go through the submittal process. I will click the green submit button. I'll get a process wheel, meaning that's telling me that the process is running to submit. And then I get a confirmation saying my application has been received and submitted for processing. Once this process completes, I'll receive a courtesy email notification. I can click Return to Dashboard to go back to the default main page, or I can click my Cases icon on the left. I'm going to click Return to Dashboard, then I'll go to Cases. Again, 9089. And now we have our assigned case number. We'll give it a second to process. It's pending case number. In the interest of time, I'm just going to go to one that was already submitted. Oh, and nope, it's right here. Here we are. You can see it has a case status of analyst review. If I click on the case number, a page will open with information about the case, links to my documents, and a link to view the PDF of the submitted application. So I can either click the View PDF link to pull up a PDF copy of my 9089 form, or I can select the download icon from the row for the PDF, and then select to open it from the pop-up at the bottom left of my screen. And as you can see, I now have the PDF of my submitted 9089 application. I'm going to close this extra window. And in the upper right-hand corner, I also have the option to select to withdraw this application. So under Actions, Withdraw, I can choose to withdraw the application. So just a reminder though, once you withdraw an application, it cannot be reinstated for further processing. So I need to select a withdraw reason. I click Submit, and I get a confirmation that the withdrawal was successfully submitted. I close that. And now if I go back to Cases, and then in 9089, in the historical section, the withdrawn case will now be shown with a case status of withdrawn. This concludes the demonstration of the new PERM electronic 9089 form. If you have questions or comments, please go to flag.dol.gov, select Support, then Contact, then go down to the Flag Technical Help Request form. Fill out your contact information. Then from the form dropdown, select Form 9089. From the Request Topic dropdown, select Form Questions. Enter any additional information you'd like us to know in the Additional Information field, and then enter your question or comment in the Your Question or Comment field. Thank you for attending our demonstration today.